I was sitting at my kitchen table, coffee going cold in my hand, staring at my phone in complete disbelief. The family group chat notification had just lit up my screen. My sister Lauren had typed in all caps, "We're taking your lake house for the summer." Not asking, not requesting, announcing. Within 60 seconds, thumbs up emojis started popping up. Mom, Dad, my brother Tyler, Lauren's husband Brad. Nobody asked me. Nobody even acknowledged that it was my house. Bought with my own money after years of grinding 70-hour weeks. They were planning their entire summer vacation at my lake house like I didn't even exist. Let me back up and explain how I even got to this point. 3 years ago, I bought a lake house on Lake Tahoe. It's nothing extravagant, just a modest 2-bedroom cabin with a small dock and a view that makes my heart settle every time I see it. But it's mine. Every square foot of it represents sacrifice. I worked as a software engineer, pulling those brutal 70-hour weeks that people talk about, but don't really understand until they live it. I packed lunches every single day. Rice and beans more times than I could count. I lived in a 400-square-foot apartment with furniture from thrift stores. I drove a 2008 Honda Civic that made concerning noises every time I accelerated. I didn't take vacations. I didn't go out with friends. I saved every penny I could scrape together. Meanwhile, my sister Lauren was getting a brand new SUV from our parents as a birthday gift. A $35,000 SUV, handed to her with a bow on it while I was eating ramen for the 4th night in a row. When I mentioned I was saving for a house, my mom said it was nice, but maybe I should focus on being closer to family instead of working so much. But I did it anyway. I bought that lake house, and it became my sanctuary. After my divorce 2 years ago, that cabin was the only place I could go where the walls didn't echo with the sounds of arguments and broken promises. I'd sit on that dock for hours, writing in my journal, processing everything that had fallen apart in my marriage. When I first told my family I'd bought the place, the reactions were less than enthusiastic. My mother's exact words were that it seemed selfish to buy something so far away instead of staying close to family. My father called it impractical and questioned whether I really thought it through. And Lauren, sweet Lauren, made comments about how I was showing off, trying to prove I was better than everyone else. None of them came to visit when I invited them last summer. Mom said the 6-hour drive was too much. Dad said his back couldn't handle that long in the car. Tyler said he was busy with work. Lauren said the kids had activities and couldn't miss them. But now, suddenly, they all wanted it. The group chat was exploding with messages faster than I could read them. Lauren, the kids need a real summer experience. They've never been to a lake house and this is the perfect age for them to make memories. Mom, family should share what they have. That's what family means, Chantel. You help each other out. Tyler, come on, sis. Let's be real. The place just sits empty while you're grinding away at work anyway. Might as well get some use out of it. My hands were shaking as I typed out a response. I tried to keep my tone calm and reasonable. I explained that I actually had plans to use the house this summer. I'd requested 3 weeks off work for the first time in 3 years. I was planning a writing retreat. Time to work on the novel I'd been putting off. Time to just breathe and exist without the pressure of deadlines and expectations. The response was immediate and brutal. My father sent a message that made my stomach drop. We already told the kids about the lake house, Chantel. You're really going to disappoint your niece and nephew? What kind of aunt does that? They've been talking about nothing else for days. Then my mother added her voice. We raised you better than this, honey. Honestly, sometimes I don't even recognize the person you've become. When did you get so focused on yourself? I sat there, feeling that familiar childhood guilt rising in my chest like floodwater. That specific shame that comes from disappointing your parents, from being told you're not good enough, not generous enough, not selfless enough. I felt 8 years old again, being scolded for not sharing my toys with Lauren even though Lauren never shared anything with me. But then something made me pause. I scrolled back through months of family group chat messages. I went back 6 months, then a year, then further. I was looking for something specific. Last October, I'd asked for help moving some furniture. I sent a message asking if anyone was free that weekend. 3 people saw it. Nobody responded. In January, I invited everyone to come visit the lake house. my treat. I said I'd cook. We could spend the weekend together. Reconnect as a family. Mom said it was too cold. Dad said he had a golf tournament. Tyler said maybe next time. Lauren didn't even respond. In March, it was my birthday. I hosted dinner at my apartment, spent $200 on food and wine. 4 people showed up out of the 12 I invited. Lauren came but left after 40 minutes because the kids were tired. But now, for my lake house, everyone was suddenly available. Everyone was engaged. Everyone had time and energy and enthusiasm. The pattern was so clear, it almost made me laugh. Almost. The next 3 days were relentless. The family group chat never stopped buzzing. It was like they'd all decided this was happening and my agreement was just a formality they were waiting for me to get over. Lauren sent photos of her kids, Emma and Noah, holding up handmade signs that said, "Please, Aunt Chantel. We promise to be good." The kids were adorable, and that was exactly the point. How could I say no to those faces? My mother called me directly on Tuesday evening. I let it go to voicemail the first time, but she called right back. I knew that pattern. She'd keep calling until I answered. "Sweetheart," she said, using that soft, disappointed voice that had shaped so much of my childhood. "I just don't understand why you're being so difficult about this. It's just a house. Family is supposed to come first." "Mom, it's not just a house. It's my house. I worked really hard for it, and we're all very proud of you, honey. But now you have the opportunity to do something generous for your family, for your niece and nephew. Don't you want to be the kind of person who gives back?" The conversation went in circles for 20 minutes before I finally said I needed to go. She sighed heavily before hanging up, making sure I heard her disappointment. But the real gut punch came when I started seeing what Lauren was doing outside the family chat. A friend sent me a screenshot from social media. Lauren had posted, "So excited for our amazing summer at the family lake house. The kids are going to have the best memories. Family lake house. Not my lake house. Family lake house." I did some digging. Turned out Lauren had been telling people for weeks that our parents had bought a lake house and were letting everyone use it this summer. She'd completely erased the fact that I owned the property. In her version of events, I was just another family member with access, not the person who'd sacrificed and saved and bought the place. I confronted her in a private message. "Lauren, why are you telling people the house belongs to Mom and Dad?" Her response came fast. "Does it really matter whose name is on the paperwork? It's family property. Stop being so possessive about everything. Family property. My house. My mortgage. My property taxes. My insurance. My money." But in her mind, it was family property. Then I discovered something that made my blood run cold. Tyler accidentally added me to a different group chat. It was called Lake House Summer Planning, and it had everyone except me in it. I scrolled through the messages, my heart pounding harder with each one. They were discussing which bedrooms they'd take. Lauren wanted the master because the kids needed space. Tyler wanted the second bedroom for him and his girlfriend. Mom and Dad would take the pull-out couch in the living room, but they were discussing whether they should buy a better mattress for it and have it delivered to the house. They were talking about moving furniture around. Lauren thought the living room setup was too formal and wanted to rearrange it to be more kid-friendly. Someone suggested repainting the kitchen because the current color was too dark. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped my phone. They were planning to redecorate my house. They were assigning rooms in my house. They were making decisions about my property like I was completely irrelevant. I took screenshots of everything. Then I left the group chat without saying a word. That night, I barely slept. I kept thinking about every time I'd bent over backwards for this family. Every time I'd said yes when I wanted to say no. Every time I'd put their needs ahead of my own because that's what good daughters, good sisters, good family members were supposed to do. I thought about my ex-husband, who'd said during our divorce that I let people walk all over me. At the time, I'd been furious at him for saying it. But lying there in the dark, I wondered if he'd been right. By morning, I'd made a decision. I wasn't going to argue anymore. I wasn't going to explain or defend or justify. I was going to let them make their plans, pack their bags, and drive all the way to Lake Tahoe. And then I was going to teach them a lesson about respect, boundaries, and ownership. I stopped responding to the family group chat entirely. Let them interpret my silence however they wanted. Over the next week, I watched the messages pile up. They took my silence as agreement. Lauren sent a detailed packing list she'd made. Mom discussed grocery shopping for the first week at the lake. Tyler mentioned he was getting his truck's oil changed for the long drive. Dad said he'd downloaded some audiobooks for the trip. They set a date, Saturday, June 15th. They'd all drive up together, caravan style, arriving around noon. Meanwhile, I was making my own plans. I called my friend Derek on Tuesday afternoon. Derek and I went to college together, and now he runs a home security company. More importantly, he's met my family at various gatherings over the years, has witnessed how they treat me. I need your help with something. I told him, and then I explained the whole situation. There was a long pause. Then Derek said, "Are you kidding me right now? They just announced they're taking your house." "Pretty much. And your parents are okay with this. They're encouraging it." Derek let out a low whistle. "Okay. I'm going to help you. And I'm doing it at cost because this is insane." "What do you need?" We planned everything out. That Friday, I told my boss I needed to take a personal day. I drove up to the lake house, meeting Derek there at 9 in the morning. The installation took 6 hours. Derek brought his best equipment, the same stuff he installs in mansions and high-security buildings. We put smart locks on both the front and back doors. These weren't regular smart locks. These were the kind that could only be opened with my phone or a code that I controlled. The old key locks were left in place, but they were disconnected from the actual locking mechanism. Someone could stick a key in, but it wouldn't do anything. We installed motion sensor cameras at every entrance, front door, back door, side door to the garage. We put up a video doorbell that had a crystal clear picture and two-way audio, window sensors on every window, a monitored alarm system that would alert both my phone and Derek's security company if anyone tried to force entry. But here's the crucial part. None of it would activate until I turned it on remotely. To anyone who looked, the house would appear completely normal. The locks would look standard. The cameras were small and discreet. Nothing would seem different. While Derek finished up the technical installation, I did something else. I went through the house and removed items. Not everything. Nothing destructive, but I took all the bedding and towels. I took the toilet paper and paper towels. I took the basic pantry supplies, the coffee maker, the dishes and silverware. I took the TV remote. I took the batteries from every remote control in the house. I didn't damage anything. I didn't sabotage anything. I simply removed my personal property from my house. When I was done, the house was clean and empty. Furniture remained. The beds were there, just no sheets or blankets. The bathroom was intact, just no towels or toilet paper. The kitchen was functional, just no supplies. Derek and I stood in the driveway reviewing everything on his tablet. Every camera had a perfect view. Every lock was responding correctly. The system was flawless. "You sure about this?" Derek asked. "Your family is going to lose their minds." "I'm sure." "Good. They deserve it. What they're doing is theft, honestly. Just because their family doesn't give them the right to your property." We shook hands, and Derek headed back to the city. I stayed a little longer, sitting on the dock, looking out at the water. This place had saved me in so many ways. It was the first thing that was truly mine, not tied to anyone else, not shared or compromised, and they'd tried to just take it. I drove home that evening feeling calmer than I had in weeks. I knew what was coming. I knew it would be ugly. But I also knew I was done being a doormat. On Friday night, my mother called. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Sweetheart," she said, and her voice was saccharine sweet. "We know you've been upset about the lake house situation, but we're family, and family works things out. We're going to take really good care of the place. I promise, and you're welcome to come visit us there anytime you want. Visit my own house as a guest." While they occupied it for 3 months without permission, the audacity was breathtaking. "Thanks, Mom. That's really generous of you." She missed the sarcasm entirely. "I'm so glad you're being reasonable about this. We leave tomorrow morning." The kids are so excited they barely slept. After we hung up, I sat on my couch with my phone in my hand. The security app was open. All systems were ready. All I had to do was activate them. I thought about backing down. I thought about being the bigger person, about keeping the peace, about not rocking the boat. Then I remembered the separate group chat, the one where they planned to repaint my kitchen, where they assigned rooms in my house like it was a hotel they'd booked. I opened the family group chat and typed one message: "Safe travels tomorrow." Lauren responded with a heart emoji. I activated the security system. Saturday morning, I was at my favorite coffee shop with my laptop open and my phone on the table beside me. The security app was pulled up on my screen. I could see every camera angle, control every lock, receive every notification. It barely slept, running on adrenaline and 3 cups of coffee. My stomach was twisted in knots, but my resolve was solid. The family chat started updating early. Tyler, 6:45 a.m. Loaded up and ready to roll. See everyone at the lake. Lauren, 7:15 a.m. Kids are already asking if we're there yet, lol. Going to be a long drive. Mom, 8:30 a.m. Stopped for breakfast. Should arrive around 1 or 2 depending on traffic. Dad, 10:15 a. Made good time. About 2 hours out now. I watched the updates, imagining them in their cars, excited and expectant. Lauren's kids probably had their faces pressed to the windows, counting down the miles. My parents were probably already mentally arranging their belongings in the house. At 11:45, my phone buzzed. Motion detected at front entrance. My heart started pounding. I switched to the camera view. Lauren's white SUV pulled into the driveway first, packed so full I could see suitcases pressed against the windows. The back was stuffed with pool floats, beach toys, and what looked like at least 3 coolers. Right behind her came Tyler's blue pickup truck, equally loaded. Then my parents' silver sedan, the trunk visibly sagging under the weight. 3 vehicles, 3 families, planning to occupy my 2-bedroom house for an entire summer. They all piled out. Lauren's kids, Emma and Noah, jumped from the SUV and started running toward the house, their excitement visible even through the camera. Brad, Lauren's husband, started unloading bags from the roof rack. My mother was already directing traffic, pointing and gesturing about where things should go. My father stretched, hands on his lower back after the long drive. Tyler and his girlfriend Sarah were laughing about something. They all looked so happy, so expectant, so confident. Lauren walked up to the front door, key in hand. It was the spare key I'd given my parents years ago, meant for emergencies only. She slid it into the lock. Nothing happened. She jiggled it, pulled it out, tried again. The key went in but wouldn't turn. I watched her face on the video doorbell camera. Confusion flickered across her features. She tried a 3rd time, forcing it harder. The key's not working. She called over her shoulder. Tyler walked up, confident. Let me try. You probably just need to jiggle it right. He took the key and tried. Nothing. He put his shoulder against the door and tried to force the key. Still nothing. My father came over. What's going on? Keys don't work, Tyler said. That's impossible. These are the right keys. I watched as all 3 of them took turns trying both doors. Front door, back door, side door, same result every time. Keys that should work but didn't. Emma started whining. I'm hot. I want to go inside. We're working on it, sweetie, Lauren said, but her voice was strained. Brad walked around the perimeter of the house, checking windows. They were all locked, of course. He pointed at something. There's a camera on the doorbell. And there. And there. They all turned and stared directly at the front door camera. I could see every detail of their faces. Confusion. Frustration. The first hints of realization that something was very wrong. My phone started ringing. Lauren. I didn't answer. It rang again immediately. Still Lauren. I let it go to voicemail. Text messages started flooding in. Lauren. The keys don't work. Lauren. What's going on? Lauren. Call me right now, Tyler. What did you do to the locks? Mom, Chantel, we're locked out. This isn't funny. Call us immediately. Dad. We drove 6 hours. Whatever point you're trying to make, you've made it. Let us in. I watched them on camera for 10 more minutes. They tried everything. They walked around the house repeatedly. They tried windows. Brad even looked under the doormat and various rocks, thinking maybe Id left a key. The kids were getting whiny and cranky. It was getting warmer, probably close to 85 degrees. They'd been in cars for 6 hours and now they were stuck in a driveway. My phone rang again. Lauren. I took a deep breath and answered. What the hell did you do? She was beyond furious. Her voice was shaking. I upgraded the security system. I said calmly. Did you really think you could just take my house without my permission? We're standing in your driveway. We drove 6 hours. The kids are exhausted and hot. Mom and Dad are here. I know. I can see you all on the security cameras. There was a shocked silence. You're watching us. It's my house, Lauren. My security system. And yes, I'm watching. This is insane. You can't just lock us out. Actually, I can. It's my house. I can lock whoever I want out of it. But we drove all this way. We quit planning everything else for the summer. The kids have been talking about this for weeks. That's not my problem. You never asked if you could use the house. You announced you were taking it. There's a difference. This is family property. Lauren was screaming now. I could hear her voice both through the phone and through the outdoor cameras. No, Lauren. It's my property. My name is on the deed. My money pays the mortgage. You were never invited, and you know it. You're really going to do this? You're really going to humiliate us like this? I'm not humiliating you. You did that to yourselves when you assumed you could just take my house. I could hear my mother in the background, demanding the phone. Lauren said something to her, but I couldn't make it out. Lauren, I said, keeping my voice steady. You've never respected me. None of you have. You've treated me like a resource, not a person. My money, my time, my property, it's all just there for you to use whenever you want, and I'm done with it. So what, we just drive home? 6 hours back? With 2 disappointed kids and no plan for the summer, that's exactly what you do. And maybe next time, you'll think twice before trying to take something that doesn't belong to you. This is cruel, Chantel. This is the cruelest thing you've ever done. No. What's cruel is treating someone like they don't matter. What's cruel is pressuring someone to give up something they worked hard for because you want it. What's cruel is planning to redecorate someone's house without their permission. Yeah, I saw that group chat, Lauren. I saw all of it. She was silent. You never thought I'd stand up for myself, did you? You thought I'd just cave like I always do. But not this time. I hung up. My hands were shaking. But it was from adrenaline, not fear. I felt powerful in a way I'd never experienced before. The family group chat was exploding. I didn't even open it. I just watched the numbers climb. 15 new messages, 20, 30. On the camera, I watched them have what looked like a heated discussion in the driveway. Arms were waving. My mother had her hand over her mouth. My father was pacing. Lauren was crying. The kids were sitting on the curb looking miserable. After about 20 minutes, they started loading everything back into the vehicles. It took them almost an hour. Nobody smiled. Nobody laughed. They drove away in the same order they'd arrived, one after another, defeated. I sat in that coffee shop watching them disappear down the road, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. I felt free. The aftermath was immediate and explosive. It muted the family group chat, but I checked it periodically to see what was happening. My mother. How dare you humiliate us like this? We stood in a driveway like fools while neighbors watched. My father. You've embarrassed this entire family. I don't even know who you are anymore. Tyler. This is actually psychotic behavior. You need professional help. Lauren sent a series of voice messages. I played the first one on low volume. She was crying, her words punctuated by gasps and hiccups. She said I'd ruined their entire summer, that the kids were traumatized, that Shed quit her job specifically for this vacation, that I'd destroyed the family. I felt a pang of guilt, exactly as I was supposed to. That was the script I'd been following my whole life. Do something to protect myself. Feel guilty about it. Apologize. Give in. But then I remembered the separate group chat. The one where they discussed repainting my kitchen. The guilt evaporated. I was about to close the app when something unexpected happened. My cousin Madison, who rarely posted in the family chat, sent a message. Madison, wait. I'm confused. Did Lauren actually ask permission to use the house? Or did she just announce she was taking it? The chat went silent. Madison continued. Because I just scrolled back through 3 months of messages, and I don't see Chantel agreeing to anything. I see Lauren making an announcement and everyone just assuming Chantel would go along with it. Tyler, stay out of this, Madison. This doesn't concern you. Madison. Actually, it does concern me. Because I'm tired of watching this family steamroll, Chantel. She bought that house with her own money. She doesn't owe anyone access to it. And the fact that you all drove up there without her explicit permission is honestly entitled and disrespectful. I stared at my phone in shock. Madison and I had always been friendly but not particularly close. We saw each other at holidays, exchanged birthday texts, but that was about it. Another cousin, Jeremy, jumped in. Madison's right. This is really messed up. Chantel, good for you for standing your ground. About time someone in this family set some boundaries. Tyler. Oh great. Now we're all going to gang up on the people who actually drove 6 hours? Jeremy. You drove 6 hours to break into someone's house, dude. That's not the defense you think it is. The chat descended into chaos after that. Some family members defending my parents and Lauren, others taking my side. I couldn't believe what I was reading. My phone buzzed with a private message. Madison. Hey, can I call you? Me. Sure, she called immediately. I've been watching them treat you like this for years, Madison said without preamble. Someone needed to say something. What they did was not okay. Thank you. I honestly didn't expect anyone to defend me. That's part of the problem, isn't it? You've been conditioned to expect nothing from them. God, I remember when you got divorced. Your mom spent the whole time at the family dinner complaining about how inconvenient it was that you needed help moving. Meanwhile, when Lauren had her kitchen remodeled last year, everyone showed up to help like it was a fun family project. I'd actually forgotten about that. But Madison was right. When Lauren remodeled, people took days off work to help. When I got divorced and needed help packing up half my life, I hired movers because nobody was available. We talked for almost an hour. Madison shared observations I'd never noticed she was making. Small moments where the family dismissed me, took me for granted, expected me to show up for them while never showing up for me. You did the right thing, she said before we hung up. Don't let them guilt you into backing down. I won't. Good. And hey, I'd love to visit the lake house sometime. You know, with an actual invitation like a normal person. I laughed. I'd like that. After we hung up, I felt validated in a way I hadn't expected. Madison's support, Jeremy's support, it mattered. It confirmed that I wasn't crazy or cruel. I was just finally standing up for myself. Then my phone rang from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Is this Chantel Davis? A woman's voice, older, uncertain. Yes. Hi, honey. My name is Patricia Hammond. I live 3 houses down from you at the lake. I'm calling because some people came to my door about an hour ago claiming to be your family. They said there was a mix-up with the house keys and asked if I had a spare or knew how to contact the property manager. My blood ran cold. What did you tell them? Nothing yet. That's why I'm calling. They seemed very aggressive, honestly. The younger woman was crying and going on about how they'd driven all day. The older woman kept insisting they had permission to be there, but something felt off. They couldn't tell me basic things about you, like what you do for work or even your middle name. And frankly, their attitudes were pretty hostile. So I said I'd make some calls and get back to them. Then I called the number listed on your property information instead. Thank you so much for checking. You did exactly the right thing. So I take it they don't actually have permission to be there. I explained the situation briefly, trying to keep it factual and not emotional. Patricia listened quietly. When I finished, she said, "Good for you, honey. I've had family try to pull similar things with me over the years. You can't let people walk all over you just because you share DNA. And if they're still hanging around or bothering other neighbors, you let me know. We look out for each other up here. I can call the sheriff's department if needed. I really appreciate that. You enjoy your house, sweetheart. You earned it. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty about what's yours. After we hung up, I felt another wave of validation. Patricia, a virtual stranger, had more respect for my property and boundaries than my own family. I finally opened the family group chat to see what fresh chaos had erupted. Lauren had posted a long message about how disappointed she was in me, how family is supposed to lift each other up, how her kids were learning that their aunt doesn't care about them. My mother had sent a Bible verse about honoring your parents and the importance of family unity. But scattered throughout were other messages. More cousins, some aunts and uncles, a few family friends. Not everyone was on my side, but enough people were speaking up that the narrative wasn't as one-sided as my parents probably expected. I turned off my phone for the rest of the day. I'd done what I needed to do. The rest would work itself out. The next 3 days were brutal on my phone. I kept it on Do Not Disturb most of the time, checking messages only a few times a day. The family chat had turned into a war zone with various factions arguing about boundaries, family obligations, and respect. My parents were using every manipulation tactic they'd perfected over the years. Guilt, anger, threats of cutting me off completely, implications that I was mentally unstable and needed help. Lauren posted something vague on social media about family betrayal and narcissistic siblings. Several of her friends commented with support, hearts, and hugs emojis, telling her to stay strong. They had no idea what actually happened, but I didn't engage. I didn't defend myself publicly. I didn't try to tell my side of the story to anyone who hadn't asked. Instead, I took the week off work as originally planned and drove to the lake house myself on Wednesday. When I arrived, I found everything exactly as ID left it. Secure. Untouched. Mine. I spent the next 4 days doing exactly what I'd planned to do all along, I wrote, sitting at the small desk overlooking the lake, working on the novel I'd been putting off for 2 years. I hiked the trails around the property. I read 3 books. I sat on the dock for hours, watching the water and the sky, letting the silence heal parts of me I didn't even know were broken. I didn't post on social media. I didn't send updates. I didn't explain or defend or justify. I just existed in my space, enjoying what I'd worked so hard to create. The peace I felt was profound. For the first time in my life, I'd set a boundary and held it, despite intense pressure to back down. And the world hadn't ended. My family was mad, but they'd been dismissive of me for years anyway. What had I really lost? On Saturday morning, my phone rang. My father. His tone was different. Less bombastic. Your mother wants to talk to you. Great. Here we go. My mother's voice came through. Chantel, honey. We've been talking to some other family members this week. Madison and Jeremy said some things that made us think. I waited, saying nothing. Maybe we didn't handle this situation the right way. But you have to understand. Lauren is struggling financially since she quit her job, and we thought this would be a nice opportunity for the kids. A real summer vacation like kids should have. So you decided to volunteer my property without asking me. We're family. We thought you'd understand that family helps each other. Mom, when I moved 2 years ago, I asked for help. You said you were too busy. When I invited everyone to visit the lake house last summer, you said it was too far to drive. But the second Lauren wanted it, suddenly everyone had time and energy and enthusiasm. She was quiet for a moment. That's not entirely fair, isn't it? When have you called me just to check in? When have you asked how I'm doing, if I need anything, if I'm okay? Every conversation we have is about what you need or what Lauren needs or what someone else in the family needs. When was the last time anyone asked what I needed? You've always been so independent. We didn't think you needed help. I'm independent because I had to be. Because nobody was there when I did need help. Another long silence. Then my father got back on the phone. So what now? You're cutting us off? You're really going to throw away your family over a house? No, Dad. I'm setting boundaries. If you can respect them, we can have a relationship. If you can't, then I guess, well, see what happens. But I'm done being the family doormat. I'm done sacrificing myself so everyone else can be comfortable. This feels very dramatic, Chantel. Does it? Or does it just feel different because I'm finally standing up for myself? I could hear him breathing on the other end. We need to think about this. You do that. I hung up feeling lighter than I had in years. I wasn't trying to hurt them. I wasn't trying to punish them. I was just refusing to participate in a dynamic that had been hurting me for decades. 2 days later, as I was packing up to drive home, my phone buzzed with a text. Lauren, not in the group chat. A private message. Lauren, can we talk? Just us? No parents. No Tyler. Nobody else. I want to hear you out. I stared at the message for a long time. Every instinct told me it was a trap, another manipulation, but something in the way she phrased it made me pause. Me. Okay. Coffee when I get back to town? Lauren. Yes. Thank you. I drove home not knowing what to expect but curious despite myself. We met at a coffee shop halfway between our houses on Thursday afternoon. I arrived early, choosing a corner table where we'd have some privacy but still be in a public space. I didn't know what version of Lauren would show up. She arrived 10 minutes later looking exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, hair in a messy ponytail, wearing yoga pants and an old college sweatshirt, not the polished, put-together sister I was used to seeing. We ordered our drinks in silence. When we sat down, Lauren didn't speak for a long moment. She just stirred her latte, staring at the foam. Then she looked up at me. I owe you an apology. I was so shocked I almost dropped my cup. Lauren continued, her voice shaking slightly. I've spent the last week thinking about everything. At first, I was just angry. I felt humiliated and hurt. I kept telling Brad that you were being cruel and vindictive, but then Madison sent me this really long message, like 3 pages long. She laid out every single time over the past 5 years that the family has asked you for something and you showed up. And every time you needed something and we didn't, she pulled out her phone and showed me a note. It was titled The Truth I Didn't Want to See. I scanned through it. Times I helped the family. Times the family helped me. The contrast was stark and painful. Times Chantel helped. Loaned Tyler $5,000 for his car repair that he never fully paid back. Drove 8 hours to take care of Mom after her surgery, while I stayed home because the kids had soccer. Hosted Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, Easter, and 4th of July for 3 years straight. Gave Emma and Noah expensive birthday presents every year. Helped Dad set up his entire home office and fixed his computer at least a dozen times. Paid for family dinners at least 20 times in the past 2 years. Times the family helped Chantel. Nobody came to her housewarming party. Nobody helped her move after the divorce. Nobody visited when she had pneumonia and was alone for 10 days. Nobody remembered her birthday last year. Nobody offered support during her actual divorce, just judgments about why the marriage failed. Lauren's eyes were filled with tears. I didn't realize how one-sided this was. And the lake house thing? I was so focused on what I wanted, what the kids wanted, that I didn't think about what I was asking, or that I wasn't even asking. I was just taking. Why now? I asked quietly. Why are you seeing this now? Because Brad sat me down the night we drove home. He was so angry with me, Chantel. He said I acted entitled and spoiled. He said if his sister treated him the way I treat you, he'd never speak to her again. And he was right. He asked me when the last time was that I did something nice for you. Something that cost me time or money or effort. I couldn't think of a single thing. She wiped her eyes with a napkin. I've been jealous of you. That's the truth. You're so successful and independent, and you don't need anyone. You bought a house by yourself. You have this career. You survived a divorce and came out stronger. And I'm over here, barely holding it together, feeling like I peaked in high school. So when you had something I wanted, I just took it. Because that's what I've always done. I'm the baby of the family, and I've been coasting on that my whole life. I didn't know what to say. This level of honesty was completely unexpected. Lauren took a shaky breath. I saw that you found the other group chat, the one where we were planning to rearrange your house and repaint things. That was so far over the line, and I didn't even see it at the time. We were treating your house like it was a rental property we'd booked, not your home. It really hurt, I admitted. All of it hurt. But that especially. You were planning to change my house without asking. I know. God, I know. And I'm so sorry. She was fully crying now. I don't expect you to forgive me right away. I don't even know if you should forgive me, but I want to do better. I need to do better. I started therapy yesterday, actually. My first session. I need to work on why I think the world owes me things. We talked for 2 hours. Really talked, maybe for the first time in our adult lives. Lauren admitted things I'd never known she felt. Her insecurity about being a stay-at-home mom while I had a career, her fear that her kids would love me more because I could afford better gifts, her resentment that I seemed to have escaped the family dysfunction while she was drowning in it. I shared my side too, how lonely it felt for years, how much Eid wanted a closer relationship with her but didn't know how to bridge the gap. How their treatment of me around the lake house was just the final straw in a pattern that had been hurting me for a long time. I don't want to cut you off, I told her. I never wanted that. I just want a real relationship. One where we both show up for each other. Where my boundaries are respected. Where I'm not just a resource to be tapped when someone needs something. I can do that. I will do that. I promise. We hugged in the parking lot before leaving. It was tentative and fragile, but it was real. Over the next few months, things slowly changed. Lauren got serious about therapy and started recognizing patterns in her behavior. She got a new job, part-time, that gave her some independence and structure. She called me twice just to check in, not to ask for anything. My mother called in August. The conversation was stiff and awkward, but she admitted that maybe they'd been taking me for granted. She didn't fully apologize, but she said she wanted to try to be better. She asked about my life, my work, how I was doing. It was a start. My father took longer, as a proud man who doesn't admit mistakes easily. But in September, he sent me a text. I'm sorry for my part in the lake house situation. You worked hard for what you have. We should have respected that. It wasn't much, but coming from him, it was significant. Tyler was the holdout. It took until October for him to reach out. He sent a Venmo payment for $2,000 with a note. Partial repayment on the car loan. More coming. Sorry I was a jerk about everything. The family dynamics didn't transform overnight. There were still moments of tension, still old patterns trying to resurface, still times when someone forgot and fell back into treating me like the family bank or the family doormat. But I held my boundaries firmly. When my mom asked if I could host Thanksgiving, I said I'd be happy to if others would contribute dishes and help with cleanup. When Tyler asked to borrow money again, I said I'd co-sign a loan but wouldn't give cash. When Lauren hinted about maybe using the lake house next summer, I said we could plan a week together, but I'd need the rest of the summer for myself. Each time I set a boundary, it got a little easier. And each time my family respected it, even reluctantly, our relationship got a little healthier. In mid-August, I invited Lauren and her kids to the lake house for 1 week. Just them. It was planned in advance, with clear expectations and mutual respect. We had an amazing time. The kids learned to fish off the dock. Lauren and I stayed up late talking, really connecting in a way we never had before. We cooked meals together. We hiked. We laughed. On the last evening, sitting on the dock watching the sunset, Lauren said, "Thank you for not giving up on me. On us." I smiled. "Thank you for finally seeing me. I do see you now. And I'm sorry it took something this dramatic for me to open my eyes." Emma ran up to us, wanting to show us a cool rock shed found. Noah was behind her, asking if we could make s'mores. We spent the rest of the evening around a fire, roasting marshmallows and telling stories. Later, after the kids were asleep and Lauren and I were cleaning up, she said, "You know what I realized this week? This house isn't just a house. It's proof that you can work hard and get something that's truly yours. That you can set goals and achieve them without depending on anyone else. And instead of celebrating that with you, we tried to take it. We tried to diminish your accomplishment by treating it like family property. I'm glad you understand that now." I do. And I'm going to make sure Emma and Noah understand it too. I want them to see their aunt as someone who set boundaries and stood up for herself. That's an important lesson. Watching my niece and nephew sleep that night, I realized something important. By standing up for myself, I hadn't destroyed my family. It'd given them the opportunity to evolve. Not everyone took that opportunity, but enough people did that our relationships were actually stronger now than they'd been before. The lake house still stands as a symbol of everything I worked for, but now it's also a symbol of self-respect, boundaries, and the understanding that loving your family doesn't mean sacrificing yourself. I learned that boundaries aren't cruel. They're necessary. They're the framework that allows relationships to be healthy instead of toxic. Without boundaries, love becomes obligation, and obligation breeds resentment. I learned that the people who truly love you will rise to meet your boundaries, even if it takes time. They'll stumble and make mistakes, but they'll keep trying. And the people who won't respect your boundaries aren't people you need to keep in your life, regardless of shared DNA. I learned that standing up for yourself doesn't make you selfish. It makes you healthy. It models self-respect for others, especially for younger people watching how you navigate the world. Most importantly, I learned that my worth isn't measured by what I can provide for others. My value exists simply because I exist. I don't have to earn love by being useful. I don't have to buy relationships by being generous to the point of self-destruction. I am enough exactly as I am. The lake house is still mine. Fully, completely, unapologetically mine. And now, finally, my family understands that. Sometimes I sit on that dock and think about the day I watched them pull into the driveway on the security cameras. I remember the fear I felt, wondering if I was doing the right thing. I remember the guilt that tried to make me back down. But I also remember the moment I activated those locks. The moment I chose myself. The moment I decided that my boundaries mattered more than keeping the peace. That was the moment everything changed. Not just with my family, but with myself. I finally learned that I was worth fighting for. So let me ask you something. Have you ever been in a situation where family or friends expected you to give up something important to you just because they wanted it? How did you handle it? Did you stand your ground, or did you give in to keep the peace? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, if it reminded you that boundaries are healthy and necessary, please hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel for more stories about real people navigating complicated family dynamics. Share this video with someone who might need to hear that it's okay to stand up for themselves. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I hope it reminded you that your worth isn't determined by how much you sacrifice for others. You deserve respect, boundaries, and relationships that lift you up instead of draining you dry. Take care of yourselves out there. And remember, what's yours is yours. And you don't owe anyone an explanation for protecting it.